Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile. With me again, as usual, Alistair McKenzie. Hello, Alistair. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm very good actually. You know, we've had the first weekend, we've had the nerves of the start of the season out of the way, and we've got 3 points. So you know what, I'm feeling pretty good for a Monday morning. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. Especially because after the friendly matches, I was a little bit concerned. Instead, Lazio played quite well against Cagliari. It's funny because we won 2-0, but Lazio could easily finish the match in the first half and score a couple of more goals in the first half. So this shows you that Lazio play much better than expected. On the other side, yeah, Cagliari is not a good team, and maybe we're going to talk about, but I think Di Francesco is way far overrated as a manager. But it was good to see Lazio playing at the pre-COVID-19 level, I would say, Alistair. So yeah, it was quite encouraging, even though let's not forget Wednesday there's a very tough match against Atalanta. So yeah, it was encouraging in the first half, especially, Alistair. I don't know if you agree with me.
Well, I agree that it was encouraging, that it was a good start. I'm not sure I would go as far as saying it was Lazio playing at the pre-COVID levels, because I think it was a poor Cagliari side. I think they were worse than we expected. And while Lazio were fairly comfortable, they missed a lot of chances to begin with, and got lucky defensively a couple of times. On top of that, there were a few too many kind of slack passes. Just a bit of match sharpness was missing, I think, from the performance on the whole. So for me, it was very good as an opening day game. It was exactly what you want: a clean sheet, 3 points on a difficult away game. Second season in a row we've beaten Di Francesco on the opening day, so he's always welcome back. But it's going to be a much bigger test what we've got coming up in the next week, because with Atalanta and Inter, it's going to be a completely different level of opposition.
Yes, and Lazio played well enough to beat Cagliari. I'm not sure that we are at the same level to beat Atalanta, especially because we are playing on Wednesday, so there's not enough rest. And Inzaghi said it even after Cagliari's match. At the moment, especially on defense, I don't have that many options. So we saw Parolo playing in defense again at the end of the match. So this is one of the concerning points, and we're going to talk about the transfer market later. But probably the biggest surprise of the match was Adam Marusic's performance.
Yeah, unbelievable, and it made me feel quite good, I have to say, because in our last podcast when we were previewing this game, I seem to remember that I was talking him up and saying how underrated he was last season. So I'm not going to say I saw this coming, but it felt good. Unbelievable performance, really. I mean, probably his best game for Lazio, would you say? In Serie A, certainly. I mean, 2 assists, and all around, defensively and in attack, it was superb. And not really, I guess, what we were expecting from, if you were going to look at a standout performer to essentially win this game for you. Adam Marusic probably wouldn't have been the first player we would have guessed. So it gives us options now. That's the best thing about it, is that with Lazio also playing well on the right-hand side, we were talking several times about the problem with the options on the left, with Faris not yet official, with Lulic injured, with Lukaku never fit. But, I mean, does this for you now mean that Marusic is first choice left wing back? I mean, you can't drop him after this, can you? Even if Faris is made official.
Absolutely. And now I'm wondering if they were waiting for Marusic to play on that side before making the final call on Faris. I'm joking, obviously, because unfortunately, as you saw, Lukaku wasn't called for the first match. It looks like Lulic is going to come back beginning of October, so that's a good news, even though how long will it take to see him playing? Because it will take time. But yeah, I mean, Marusic had a great performance. And when you're playing a 3-5-2, you know that the secret are the wingers. Both Lazzari and Marusic played a great match. And so this is really encouraging. Alistair, on the other side, Ciro Immobile scored the second goal, but I thought he missed a couple of very good chances in the first half. It's not the Ciro we're used to see yet, right?
No, I mean, yeah, he was a great example of what I was talking about earlier, where some players basically just look like they haven't played enough matches recently, and I think he was one of them. The good thing with Giro is that he's always going to find those chances, and he always ends up in positions to get the chances. And quite often, even when he's been in great form, he does need 2 or 3 decent chances before he scores a goal. What makes him such a brilliant striker is that he will always find another chance and another opportunity. He does that better than almost anyone. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. I think I've said this before about Immobile, where when I'm concerned with him is more when he goes quiet, when you don't see him, when he doesn't get into those positions. So for him to be actually finding the space, finding the opportunities, and not taking them is less concerning than if he wasn't getting them at all. In the end, the goal he scored, the finish was a very nice one. But yeah, like you say, it could have been a far more comfortable game if he put away some of the earlier ones. And I think there was generally, we saw on our Twitter feed, certainly a lot of frustration around how many missed chances there were. So how worried do you think we should be about that? Is that a big concern, or is it good to see that we are actually creating these chances in the first place?
Well, this is a theme that we saw even in the friendly match this summer, right? It was quite surprising because Lazio created a lot of chances, but missed them a lot. I got the impression that Caicedo and Correa are still not at the same level of last year. Ciro takes a little bit of time to warm up, but he made his goal. And to be honest, he missed a lot of good chances, but the one he took, it wasn't that easy. So it's encouraging to see that. But yeah, on the other side, I didn't think Correa played a great match, honestly, Alistair. And when Caicedo came in, I was expecting something better from Felipe. So I think there's a problem there. We don't know when Murici is going to be available. But yeah, probably the most concerning point is that, right? I thought the defense played well. The midfield, yeah, a couple of mistakes, but overall a good performance. But yeah, on defense, we made some... In attack, I think we could have played better, taking more chances.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, that was certainly a big theme of kind of people's reaction to this match. Was that when you create this many chances, you need to be able to take them, especially when we're up against teams like Inter, like Atalanta that are coming up, because we're not going to be able to carve through those defenses quite as easily as we were against Cagliari. I mean, for example, the opening goal against Cagliari was fantastic work from Maricic and Lazzari to get up the wing-back goal, which I think somebody said we've not seen much of since the final of the 2013 Coppa. So, but yeah, I mean, they had their entire line of back four, lined up between our two wing backs when they scored that goal. So it was pretty bad defending that we're not going to come up against very often. On the upside as well, I'd like to know what you think about this as well, but the substitutions I thought were quite interesting. It was good to see the debut of Gonzalo Escalante, who I like the look of, coming on in the Lucas role. I loved how Inzaghi made that change, I think within about 30 seconds of Lucas getting a yellow card. Some things never change. But perhaps even more, Akpa Akpro, who is a guy we didn't really know what to expect from, how much he's really going to be involved, what his role is in this squad. And he came off the bench, and while he didn't exactly, do anything spectacular, he did look like he has something to offer from the small amount of time he is on the pitch. What do you think?
Well, first, let's go back and talk about Lucas Leiva, because, Alistair, we have to talk about this. I thought he played very, very well, and we missed him in the post-COVID-19 season, let's call it like that, when he was injured and didn't play. I thought against Cagliari he played great, but he should be an experienced player, right? He played with Liverpool, he played in Champions League and so on. That yellow card was really, really stupid. And, you can expect it from a youngster, but from Lucas Leiva, that yellow card, a foul close to the Cagliari's box, didn't make sense at all. And we all know that when you get a yellow card with Simone Inzaghi, you're coming out. And you could see Leva, I don't know if you noticed, he wasn't happy when he was coming out. But that was a stupid yellow card, especially in his position, where you know that there's the risk for another yellow card. He played well, but that foul makes me, think about it. Because in the Champions League, in complicated matches like Atalanta and Inter, you cannot make these silly mistakes, especially from an experienced player like Leva.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's always been quite a big part of his game, though, isn't it? That does happen far too often. But what did you think about the two new guys then, about Akpakpro and Escalante?
Well, Escalante, he didn't do that much on Saturday. I preferred him when we saw it during the friendly matches. And this is both fault of Cagliari, who didn't really create any chances afterwards. And on the same side, I think he was a little bit shy. On the other side, Akpro, or how the hell you pronounce him, I thought he had a great match. I mean, when he made the tunnel to the Cagliari player, I don't remember his name, I thought the referee should have finished the match there and say, okay, it's over. Football is done. It was a big surprise to me. I thought it was he would never played with Inzaghi, but it looks like that Inzaghi really, really like him. And when we're going to talk about transfer market, I wonder what is going to happen to him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just wanted to run through, before we move on from the game, a few of the comments we were getting on game day from some of our listeners. I mean, there is a recurring theme here as well about wasted chances as one of the things, but then also about the depth. Stephen Scarpullo said, "We know this 11 can perform at this level, but this 11 can't play 45 plus matches in a condensed season. That's my problem." Oliver Pill said it's about the mercato for him, having changed the entire central midfield during tonight's match and even bringing on Parolo in the defence. Inzaghi has confidently fielded 7 central midfielders during the game. And then he's asked if we can see Lazio signing Carlos Rodriguez from Monterrey, or is the midfield complete? Patrick Bowman actually said he thought it was harsh to play Marco Parolo as a centre-back at the end and keep Armini on the bench for the last few minutes. But yeah, he was also impressed by Escalante and Akpakpro. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the midfield and whether we do still need people to come in? I mean, Oki Ganesha Putra asked us if we still need a backup for Luis Alberto because he's worried about when he gets injured. Do you think that that's something we still need? And also, I guess we should talk about Marco Parolo being a defender and whether it's right that he's getting in ahead of Armini or not.
Well, so many questions. Well, one of the problem is there's the list of 25 players, right? And or you bring in under 22, or otherwise someone has to get out. And this is one of the questions we have, Akpro played well against Cagliari. Will this be his only performance with Lazio? Because there are rumors that Lazio is going to sign Andreas Pereira from Manchester United. If he comes in, someone has to leave. There are rumors that Caicedo could be leaving, but I see Andres Pereira not as a second striker. So I don't know. It wouldn't be the right replacement for Caicedo. So who comes out? Akpakpro. Then why did we sign him? I'm a little bit, concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the midfield, for me, the Andres Pereira thing is more as a Luis Alberto backup. I think that the fact he's quite a versatile player is probably what is encouraging them to look at him more. He's only 24. He's a young player. He's obviously got a lot of experience at a good level as well. I don't know how much that experience counts if he's not really had the quality to be able to then nail down a place in that Man United team, to be able to actually want them to keep him for much longer. That is one question, and it sounds like if this deal is completed, it's going to be with a fairly expensive option to buy. That would be a Lotito record. I can't remember, 26 million or something like that, which sounds a bit surprising. I do still think we need that, though. In answer to that, one of those many questions I rattled off to you there, I do still think that the alternative to Luis Alberto is a priority. And look, we've only got 1 week left in the mercato now. It's a week today. We're recording this on Monday, so I think it's the 5th of October that it's closing in Serie A. Wesley Hoet should be doing his medicals today. Apparently, we hope that Fares and Hoet will actually get confirmed at some point. But I don't know. Yeah, like you say, there's still options in this squad. We don't know what their futures are, whether they're going to be around, whether they're going to be moved on. So I don't know. How busy a week are you expecting this to be? It's a difficult question, I know, because Lazio are quite unpredictable in the market. But with 1 week left, it still feels like quite a lot needs to happen.
Absolutely. Because as I said before, if Lazio want to sign players, someone has to get out. There are rumors about Vavro going back to Copenhagen. Bastos, we know he should be leaving. So Lazio have to do both ways: sign players and release players, sell players. So knowing how long it takes for Lazio, I don't know if a week is going to be enough, because we know that Bastos said no to a couple of offers. Vavro, I don't know how many offers he have. Now, there are rumors that he could go back to Copenhagen. Again, who's going to leave the space if we're going to sign Pereira? Even though I think it's going to be a loan, because I cannot see Lotito spending 27 million for a player. So again, if Pereira comes, and he could be the perfect replacement for Luis Alberto, right? Someone has to leave. So who do you take off? Lukaku? But then you will have only 3 wingers, right? Because Lulic shouldn't be in the list. We don't know when Lulic is going to come back. So there are a lot of question marks. I'm a little bit surprised. For this reason, I was surprised to see Akpak Pro playing, because I think at that point, Inzaghi considered him part of the team. So who could be leaving the squad? I don't see nobody except Vavro. But if Vavro goes out, I think another defender will come in, because Inzaghi wants 6 there. So, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, concerned. Don't know who's going to leave the. Even there, Alistair, if Caicedo leaves, I think then we are missing a striker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. I think we need 4 minimum, and no matter how much potential we think Adekanye might have, how much potential Raul Moro might have, they're not first team strikers yet. For me, you need guys that you can rely on. So there's no point in selling Caicedo unless there's somebody who's ready to come in for him. And then there's also been these stories about Joaquin Correa going to Juventus, which I've not really paid any particular attention to, because it just doesn't seem like something that Lotito is ever going to allow to happen. But yeah, I mean, another question we got, for example, today from Frats Anthony, was asking, why is Jevan Anderson being sent down? He looked promising last season. Well, we kind of answer that question just from this conversation, I suppose. There's just too many players. You can't have unlimited players. And nobody tell Roma this, but there are a limit to how many players you can have in a squad, senior players. Jevan Anderson's not a youth player. So if he's going to be a member of the squad, is going to be one of the 25. And yes, although he showed some promise last season, when you actually get to the process of looking through that full squad list and trying to work out who he's going to knock out, well, I'm sorry, there's not really any space for him. So it's a difficult thing to do. And it's also slightly worrying that at this stage, when we're going to have played 3 games of the season already by the time the mercato closes. And we still don't really know what that list is going to look like when it's finally submitted.
Yeah, and this also bring up a question, a problem of Lazio, right? The under 22, who of that list is really useful? Who of that list really is playing for Lazio? Because last year we had at least Luis Felipe, and he is a starter for Lazio. But now Strakosha is older, Luis Felipe is not there anymore. The only player who last year played a couple of matches is Adekanye. Andre Anderson is moving back to Salernitana. So I think this is one of the problems of Lazio squad. Inzaghi not trusting the youngsters anymore like he did in the past. B, does Lazio have real valuable under 22 players that can play or give options for a team fighting for the Champions League spot? Because with a list of 25 players, the under 22 makes a big difference, because you have unlimited player you can put on that list. And at the moment we have Armini. Inzaghi preferred to put Parolo instead of Armini. Adekanye, who we don't know what he's doing. So Raul Moro, who's back to the Primavera. Apart from this, do we have other players there? I don't think so.
Well, this was one of the questions we got as well from Cro Laziale, who asked, could Inzaghi's reluctance to give chances to young players, he's written in brackets Pedro Neto, Andre Anderson and Armini, hurt the club in the long run? Talented players like Raul Moro will not sign for Lazio if they don't have a chance of getting the first team experience in the future. That's, I think, a good point. In terms of trying to actually grow and develop the youth sector, it's important to remember that to convince a lot of these young guys, these teenage players, when there's a lot of interest in them, Raul Moro, for example, Lazio did quite well to sign him considering how many big clubs wanted him. To get those players, you do need to convince them of that. You do need to convince them. And that's not a reason for Inzaghi to say, right, I'm going to start throwing on teenagers left, right and centre if they're not ready, or if he doesn't think they're ready. But I think that the thing that with the Parolo substitution is a great example of what frustrates Lazio fans about this, because that's almost like a harmless opportunity to be able to give some minutes. 5 minutes on the pitch doesn't mean anything to Marco Parolo, but it means quite a lot to Nicola Armini. So I guess I am a little bit worried that he's refusing to do that, because it used to be something he did a lot, but he's become more and more cautious, I think, in terms of who he's willing to bring in. It might just be a case he doesn't think anyone's good enough, but we're never going to know unless we try.
No, I mean that's a valid point, and one of the secrets of the success of Simone Inzaghi the first season was, he launched Strakosha against AC Milan. He launched Luis Felipe, launched Lombardi, a lot of youngsters from Lazio. Now he's very reluctant. And as you were saying, playing Armini in the last 5 minutes, I think the match was pretty much over. So why don't give Armini a chance? The other thing, for example, Alistair, is that in the list of the 4 players grown in the club, Lazio has only 2 players at the moment. Strakosha and Cataldi. I know a lot of people put Armini and Alia, but they are not there because they are under 22. So again, you could keep Lombardi and have another options on the wingers, and so maybe you could take away Lukaku and sign another player. So you see, these things are harming Lazio, because grown up from the club, how many are they? Strakosha, Armini, Cataldi, that's it. If you go and watch other clubs like Juventus, they have more players than us, which is, unbelievable.
It is a really difficult balance to strike, though, because, a lot of people will make the point that what's the point in giving, how much does it really matter to give Armini 5 minutes at the end of the match? How much is it really going to help his development? And then you might say, well, there's no point in risking a result in a Serie A game by giving opportunities to young players who you don't know are ready, because you don't want to sacrifice success in order to be able to, take a gamble in the future. So it's difficult to know, because if you think about Lazio's season ahead, there are almost no opportunities to take that gamble anymore. The Serie A games are going to be really difficult this season because of the Champions League campaign. In the Champions League, we won't have an opportunity to play a B team or a rotated team in the way that we did in the Europa League. Not to great success, it has to be said. And in the Coppa Italia, you only really ever have one easy Coppa Italia game before they start to become difficult as well. So there just aren't really first team opportunities where you're able to take gambles beyond maybe making substitutions. And I suppose this is the crucial part now, is that with 5 substitutions staying for this season, is that going to be what gives these players an opportunity? Or is it just going to give Inzaghi another way of kind of filling the pitch with old reliable players?
I think with 5 subs you have the chance, you can, and look at the other teams. They give a chance to youngsters. I mean, Inter started Bastoni, so why cannot we give a chance to Armini? And then you have 5 substitution. If you waste one on Armini because he didn't prove to be good enough, you still have 4 options from the bench. So I think with 5, you have even more options, more chances to prove this youngster. Inzaghi said he's not ready, but why? Lazio Primavera played with the 3-5-2. Armini was already in the squad in the second part of the season last year. So I don't know who is a player more ready than Armini,
Yeah, but then... exactly. But then what happens, if Inzaghi's right, and what happens is he brings on Nicola Armini for 5 minutes at the end of the game, he concedes a penalty or makes a terrible mistake and we concede a goal and the fans are hammering him, then that is even more detrimental to his development as a player than if he hadn't used him at all. So it's easy to criticise it, but if Inzaghi thinks he's not ready and that there is a risk of that happening, which can set him further back, then he's within his rights to avoid doing it. It's difficult because there's, like I say, there are very few no-risk environments left for him to be able to do this. And the Primavera is such a different level from Serie A that it's not really an honest way of being able to tell how ready a player actually is until they try them, I suppose.
I don't know. I remember that Inzaghi made Perche debut, and I think he's not playing anymore in professional football. So, he came in and played in Serie A, and 4 years later, he's don't know where he's playing anymore. So, what happened to that manager? I don't understand. Or at least, go out and say, hey, Armini is rubbish. I have it because I don't have any other players, but, we need to sign other players. Then, it's completely different discussion. I don't think it's like that. I don't think Armini is Nesta, just to be honest with everybody. But if you don't give him a chance to grow, to try, then he will never be a decent player.
Let's move on to Atalanta for a second, because we got a question from Bruno saying, after seeing the 3 performances, are you more or less confident for the Atalanta and Inter games? So I guess he's including the Atalanta and Inter matches from the weekend as well. Did you see the Atalanta-Torino match? Do you feel a certain element of fear after that?
Well, I think it didn't change my opinion. Atalanta is a very good team when they're attacking, a very terrible team when defending. So Lazio will have the chances. They have to be very good in defense, but I think they have the chances. Against Inter, I think Inter is a ready-to-win team, a team that now it's probably the favorite to win the Scudetto. So it's all on Antonio Conte to lose it. So that's going to be a very complicated match. Against Atalanta, I mean, it's the same Atalanta of last year, I would say. In defense, they didn't get better. And in attack, they're already good enough. So on one side, it was good to see Lazio defense not allowing any goal on Saturday. I think Lazio has to be more precise when they're attacking, because they miss too many chances. And, Atalanta will give you some chances, but not infinitive. So it didn't change my opinion. That the normal Atalanta we always saw, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they were yet another team who didn't, I don't think, actually play any new signings in their starting 11. So it was more or less the same thing. It was, I tweeted at the time, it was after 20 minutes, we'd already had, 3 goals and a comeback, which is just classic Atalanta. I mean, they just do that every time. You're never safe with Atalanta. If you go ahead against them, they win more points from losing positions than any other team in Italy. I think bar Lazio last season, actually. But yeah, I mean, they are just frightening to watch going forwards. I mean, it wasn't just the quantity of the goals, it was the quality of the goals against Torino was so good. And it makes you realise the importance of, if you're going to stand a chance against this team, you have to do something about Papu Gomez. Now, we did try and do something. We tried to sign him, which would have been a good way of stopping him. But now that hasn't worked, we're going to have to find another way of dealing with him, because he is just pulling the strings and setting up chances from every angle. And, whether that's getting Lucas Leiva to run around the pitch chasing him and sacrifice a bit of the midfield balance, or whether it's some other technique, I don't know, but it's easier said than done to shut down Papu Gomez. But that, if we're going to stand any chance in this match, I think that's what we're going to have to do. With Inter, I mean, it's funny you say that, with the scoring lots of goals and also conceding a lot with Atalanta, because it was almost difficult to tell which Nerazzurri team was which over the weekend, because Inter were absolutely dreadful in defence. Kolarov as a centre-back, I mean, it was a complete disaster, really, defensively against Fiorentina. So although I agree with you, I think they are, a team that's ready to go, and it has been strengthened this summer quite well, and is going to get better under Conte in a second year. I think that this is actually not a bad time of the season to play them, because they're not quite settled yet. The big difference for me is that you see with a team like Inter how much this 5 subs thing makes a difference. They bring on someone like Alexis Sanchez, and I think it changes the way that a football match works now, because the final 15-20 minutes of a match is so important. And yes, it always has been. Yes, that's when the most goals have always been scored. But now, if you can bring on players of that caliber to change a game, change your entire forward line is possible for the last 15-20 minutes. You need to be so alert. So that's the thing for Lazio, I think, in both these games, but especially against Inter, they need to have a 90-minute performance. It can't be the kind of one good half, one bad half. I think they need to be on it from start to finish.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be 2 complicated matches. I think this will be give us a clear idea of where Lazio can go, because I wasn't impressed at all from Juventus, and Roma as well. It's not a great team. I'm concerned about Napoli and Milan, to be honest with you. So, if you make points against Atalanta and Inter, then you can really start thinking about the Champions League position. But yeah, it's going to be challenging matches, especially because I don't think any new player will be available to Simone Inzaghi in these 5 days. So I think it's going to be the same team we saw against Cagliari.
Yeah, probably. I mean, bearing in mind it's 2 home games as well, what do you think is a good result from these 2 games? Like, how many points is good or is acceptable? Only, okay, so it's nothing less than 6 is acceptable.
Well, no, I mean, 4 points, that would be good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, I think at this point it's really important the performance more than the points. I mean, if you win playing badly, yeah, it's always good to win. But at this time it's good to see the team improving. So the performance is really important at this stage.
And we've got Adam Maricic, so it's not in doubt anymore, guys. Just stop the league now.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, Alistair, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, we have a special edition coming up for the Champions League. We're going to do a live video on YouTube for the draw of Lazio finally in the Champions League. So take note. Thursday, 6 o'clock, right, Alistair, is starting the Champions League draw. So from a little bit earlier than the draw, we're gonna be live on our YouTube channel, and we're gonna talk with you and talk about the draw and the Champions and Lazio performance against Atalanta as well.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I'm quite terrified about it as well, but it'll be good to have your company at least.
Yeah, it's gonna be a complicated draw. We can see it happening. Again, Alistair, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for listening, and remember to rate and subscribe the podcast on iTunes. You can find us on Spreakers, on Spotify. We are now even on Amazon. So if you love to listen your podcast on Alexa, Amazon, etc., you will find us there. So please check us everywhere you normally listen your podcast. And thank you again. We're going to talk again Thursday.
Song here, there and everywhere.
Alexa just replied to me. Thank you, Alistair. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Here.